teched out really against each other. I mean, Austin obviously playing Hisuian Gudra, we're in the Lugia meta. You have to play around Lugia. So I think a couple of key cards here are going to be the Temple of Sinnohs. But Temple of Sinnohs at the right time. I mean, the biggest threat probably on Jake's side of the field would be something like the Amazing Rare Evil Toss. So you want to make sure you drop the stadium when the Lugia is taken care of.
Prize cards going out for both of these players. Nothing too bad. I don't think Austin loves to see a Mirage Gate prized, Colress prized, a boss, like nothing great to be prized, but nothing too detrimental, nothing game losing on either player's end here.
Exactly, Jake. There, getting a Cats and Clone prize, not something you're going to use in this matchup. I like that he's playing too. Definitely respecting something like the Weezing matchup, potentially, or Duraludon. Yes. But in this specific one, yeah, you can stay in the prize. It's fine.
Not a super relevant card at all. And here we go, game one underway, and it does appear like Austin Charles is going first. I do want to mention as well a little backstory here. Austin Charles actually came up to me yesterday after round number 6. He was like, yo, what's up, Chip? I'm playing in my first regionals since 2017, and I'm 6-0. So he had an excellent start to this tournament, but now finds himself on the win end. Let's see if he can lock it up.
Wow, not that many people can even be in their position, much less someone who's just returning from the game since 2017. It just really goes to show, just show up to the regionals. You never know. Dreams really do come true here in Pokemon. As we start the game here, a couple of abilities already being played. I love how Austin has the Comfy already in the active. Perfect start there, has the Greninja as well. So things are looking good so far for Austin.
Capture Energy coming down, another card that will be rotating out of the standard format before too long. Austin taking a moment to check the prize cards. Absolutely worth knowing how many of your energies you have available. Something that is very important when you're playing a Mirage Gate deck and Radiant Greninja, because you're going to be discarding energy to draw cards, but at the same time you want to make sure there are some in the deck in order to pull back out with that powerful item card. Once you get to 7 cards in the Lost Zone, now it looks like a Comfey has been found, placed directly onto the bench, shuffling up, and I think we're going to see some more flower selecting incoming.
Exactly. Something I love about playing the Hisuian Gudra deck, unlike other Lost Zone box where there's like so many different counts of the energy, it's straight and simple in Gudra. It's 4 water, 4 metal, 4 capture. That's easy to keep track of.
And a great card to hit here off that next flower selecting, Battle VIP Pass. You can only play this card on the first turn of your game. So it was a perfect card for Austin to hit here off that flower selecting, as now 2 basic Pokemon will be pulled out of the deck. And it looks like it is going to be 2 Gudra V.
Yes, losing the Ordinary Rod, a little bit awkward. But again, we have multiple counts of the metal, of the water. So not the worst there. And, we're not like discarding energies to attack. And I've said this time and time again, this entire tournament. If you are opening up a Battle VIP Pass, we're having a good time. We're going to have a match here. And something of note, we do see 1 Hisuian Gudra hit the board. I love in Austin's list here is actually playing a 2-3 line. So 2 Hisuian Gudra V, but 3 V-Star. That's something of note because, yes, it's something you want on the board, but if you get 1 prize, you do have access to something like a Hisuian Heavy Ball potentially to get it out of the prizes. Whereas the V-Star, there's no way to get that out.
This next flower selecting does see a Ordinary Rod and a Hisuian Gudra V-Star. Austin double checks the hand, sees the other V-Star there, knows that Ordinary Rod is already down, doesn't want to lose another one. Cannot attach that Metal Energy, I believe, because a Capture Energy has already been attached this turn.
Good
so
catch
just a
there.
Quick little catch. Judge was on top of it. And now we're over to Jake Jensen's turn, drawing for turn. Starting that Lugia V in the active spot could set up for a turn 1 Read the Wind, but Austin Charles actually is playing Choice Belt, so there is a world where a turn 2 Gudra V-Star could come into the active spot and take 2 prize cards.
Definitely not an impossibility there. There's Austin had a pretty good start when it comes to Gudra. There's already 3 cards in the Lost Zone after a Colress, after a couple of Comfeys. That's 7. That's the only number you really have to hit. You're not playing Sableye, so 10 is not really something you need to worry about. So 7, which is pretty close. I have to wonder here if Jake can have as of an explosive start as Austin.
Quick Ball searching through the deck does discard that Dunsparce, a pretty useless card in this matchup. Something interesting to note as well, just looking at the meta for this event, a lot of our Lugia players have actually chosen to cut Dunsparce from their list. What do you make of that, Wancho?
Interesting. Maybe yeah, maybe not really needing the Dunsparce, maybe not expecting too many lightning Pokemon. I mean, Raikou is the only thing you really have to worry about, but then they also need the Choice Belt. That's a couple of things your opponent needs. So I'm not too opposed to that, but yeah, not too opposed to it
And
at all.
how about this? The Luminion V for Professor Burnett.
That
Not
card
a
I
supporter
love.
card we see too terribly often in these Lugia lists, but it makes a splash every once in a while, and it's the type of card that you look at it on paper, it does make sense to play, right?
It's a weaker version of the battle compressor we have in expanded an item card itself, but at the same time, this card is searchable through Luminion. Sometimes a lot of the trouble I have with Lugia is discarding a couple of special energies a little bit too early if I want to research a handful of Archeopses. So this is a professor that doesn't quite. It's a safer professor to play for sure, but yeah, it doesn't get you too much.
Capture Energy being played to the Lugia V. Looks like Jake is already pulling a Stoutland V to the front of the deck. That is a card that is super strong into the Lost Box matchups normally, but also really good against pretty much any deck that plays Comfey, and that definitely qualifies in this situation.
Looks like Jake here not respecting the Hisuian Gudra V-Star, because right now there's only a lone Lugia.
I do think Jake has another Lugia V in the hand, but I wonder if he'll even bench it, right?
Exactly. We'll have to see. I mean, he doesn't quite know what's in Austin's list just yet.
Ooh, it's a little risky here.
All right, here we go,
This
Austin.
is the type of play that can pay off big time, because you don't really want two Lugia V in play necessarily. But if Austin can pop off, find the choice belt, take the knockout, it is just a one of in the deck, so it's not super likely. But if Austin can do it, Jake is... it's almost a game-losing play.
Exactly. I mean, it's still far off. Yes, drawing the choice belt itself, but also getting 7 cards into Lost Zone, having the Mirage Gate, having the Switch, the V-Star. It's a lot. But again, it's a possibility. It's not the craziest thing we've seen here at the Pokemon trading card game.
Concealed cards ditching in energy to pick up 2 more from the top of the deck. Now Flower Selecting will do 2 more, and that is a choice belt right there. Okay, we just need 3 more cards in the Lost Zone. I do not see a Colress just yet. Oh, and I think the only way to get this Comfey out of the active right now is either to retreat it or use Escape Rope. And using Escape Rope kind of defeats the purpose of trying to knock out this Lugia.
Exactly. But at the same time, taking 2 prizes off something on the bench, not the worst scenario to be in as well, if possible, right?
Austin will send up another Comfey, leaving themselves the line open to at least go for a Cramorant hit this turn. Does hit a Colress off of this Flower Selecting, but at the cost of a second Gudra V-Star. Austin does have the 3rd Gudra V-Star in hand, but this is a big risk and will lose the Gudra. It's going to be on the back of 1 single slug for the rest of this game.
I mean, if there's any Pokemon that can carry a game
there's a Mirage Gate!
Okay, it's a possibility. Good choices there as well, getting sent to the Lost Zone. Do we have it?
There's the Mirage Gate. I think the only question is there a switching card in hand? I do think there is an energy card. There's a Temple of Sinnoh, which would be really nice as well. I don't think there's a switch. I think we're just one card short of picking up the 2 prize knockout on this Stoutland V this turn.
That's very unfortunate there, especially since I guess now the Escape Rope is really hurting. Because worst case scenario for me earlier was, hitting the Lugia with something like the Cramorant, getting 110 damage in, because there's no way to one-shot a Lugia V-Star with the Hisuian Gudra deck. So, getting the early 110 damage does matter a lot. Whereas getting 110 damage on the Stoutland doesn't feel as good for sure. I mean, you can knock it out in 1 hit, since we do have the choice belt.
It still might be right to send up the Cramorant here, because it requires more of a commitment from the Stoutland to pick up 2 prizes, right? Forces your opponent to use more of those powerful colorless energy cards.
Yes, the big question is, though, is this one of the times that it's worth to put into play the Temple of Sinnoh? By putting Temple of Sinnoh forces Jake to expend a lot more resources, maybe find their Pumpkaboos in order to use the Stoutland in the first place.
Temple of Sinnoh is a great stadium now to put into play, like you mentioned. Forces out the Pumpkaboo, find a Lost Vacuum potentially, attach retreat of that Capture Energy into the Cramorant, and we will be spitting, I should say, onto this Stoutland. 110 damage offered up. Sets up for a 2-hit knockout, and like we mentioned as well, does force a little bit more from Jake's end. Now Jake drawing for turn, needing to find a way to get the Lugia V-Star and see if we can get off that turn 2 summoning star to get a few Archeops in play.
Yeah, I can't quite see the hand if he has an Ultra Ball in hand, so he should be able to get the the Lugia V-Star. I didn't quite check. Oh, he did use Burnett, so he should be able to get it right here. He even has the Pumpkaboo in hand to bump the stadium.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that might have to be the line of play. Yes, you might just have to sacrifice the Stoutland being the active 3 retreat. It has a 3 retreat cost, a little bit tough to use, so might as well just make use of it and just attack there. It's going to take, I believe, all the powerful energies. Didn't quite check the prize, didn't quite get to sneak a peek at the prizes. If there's any powerful energies prize, looks like there's not. So that's definitely a possibility. To take 2 prizes on a 1 prize Pokemon, that's pretty good.
Definitely really strong. Does require that full commitment, but it could be worth it at this spot. And what is interesting as well about this position, because Austin did choose to attack into the Stoutland this turn, effectively this becomes an even trade. Because Stoutland, it's normally a card that lets you get ahead in the prize trade because you take 2 additional prizes on a 1 prize Pokemon, so 2 total prizes, I should say. But if Stoutland is already damaged, it takes 2 prizes and then gets immediately KO'd, it's the same setup.
Something I could foresee happening. We did see an Ultra Ball there discarding a powerful energy, so now taking a knockout on the Cramorant might not be, I mean, taking a Cramorant with extra prizing might not be in the cards, but something that Jake could do this turn is maybe try and find a way to get a knockout on the Hisuian Gudra before it gets to attack again. Rolling Iron is a very powerful attack that reduces the damage you take as well by 80, but you have to attack to get the benefit of the attack there. So right now, on the bench, it is just a 270 effective HP Pokemon. If you can find the right lines, get a boss's orders, even put in, I guess, enough energy on the Stoutland to use Wild Tackle, potentially?
Yeah, that does require another. I actually, with a powerful discard, I don't think it's possible, right? Because Wild Tackle does 200, so would need, again, all 4 powerful energy to make that happen.
And the Choice Belt, if possible. Again,
or 3 in a Choice Belt would work, right?
Yeah, for sure. But again, it's a lot of cards.
What's awkward about the Stoutland being active as well is it's got a pretty hefty 3 retreat cost, so it's kind of hard to get out of the active spot. I agree with you. It would be super nice to take out this Gudra before it gets rolling away, but it just might not be in the cards here for Jake Jensen.
Exactly. But I mean, we're talking about game-winning plays. Again, that's the lone Gudra. That's information you have. There's 2 Gudra V-Stars in the Lost Zone. I don't think Austin can win this game on the back of something like just Cramorant. Oh, but at the same time, there is Ordinary Rods, but...
Yeah, I think Austin's already played 1 Ordinary Rod and sent one to the Lost Zone.
So yeah,
both are already down.
Gudra.
Yeah. It is this Gudra or bust at this point.
All right, here we go. You're going to see the Primal Turbo. I'm very curious to see what line of play Jake decides to go with. He could try and Primal Turbo, attach a DT maybe to the active Stoutland to retreat it, but then at the same time, and then power up a Lugia V-Star.
But also with that Temple of Sinnoh in play, it would actually have to be 2 energy cards because Double Turbo is only providing 1 right now. So it would have to use that Pumpkaboo in hand, but that takes away a bench space. We actually saw kind of a weird interaction there for Jake. Played the Capture Energy and almost went to grab the deck like he thought he was going to be able to get a basic out. But no, yeah, that Temple is making this Capture only a colorless energy at this point. Does not give you that extra benefit you normally get.
Exactly. A mistake I've made multiple times. Again, sometimes it's just so exciting to get the effect of that energy. Looks like we're just going to go ahead and Wild Tackle here. 4 energies now onto the Stoutland. It is colorless, so you don't need any type of color, and there is 4 energies attached, not double turbos. So yeah, just clean knockout, take 1 prize, put more damage on the Stoutland, but right now, just 110, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and this is a kind of decent opening as well for Austin. I think if Austin could find a boss's orders this turn and take out an Archeops, take away some of that energy excel with that Gudra, use the Rolling Iron, that would be really strong. Pumpkaboo now coming into play for Jake, discarding that Temple of Sinnoh. All of these energies now being activated. Wild Tackle dealing 30 damage to the Stoutland. It does boost it up a little bit more with the damage output on it. Actually, I wonder as well, is there a line for Austin to maybe work in a Radiant Greninja attack? Take a knockout on the Stoutland and a knockout on the Pumpkaboo.
That would be very, very interesting for sure. In fact, that's the play I want to see. That's a 3 prize turn. At the same time, you could do that play and reattach or replay a Temple of Sinnoh, I believe I saw in the hand. Very interesting. Jake decided to bump the stadium right now.
Does find the boss's orders actually here for Austin. So there's a lot of plays available right now for Austin Charles. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just got excited, saw that boss hit the hand, and another one here off Flower selecting.
Exactly. I think, in my mind, maybe taking the boss's orders on the Archeops might be the better play. The Greninja play will be available
in the future, right?
Yeah, exactly. But taking out the Archeops right now closes the opportunity for Jake to get an Evil out of nowhere, which is a pretty good position.
I think the problem right now, though, for Austin is that he does not have a way to switch this Comfey to the bench and boss and attach an energy. So it will be the Colress for turn. So maybe if this finds something like a Mirage Gate, on the last card, I wonder if we could see this Radiant Greninja work in right now.
A couple of energies already in hand, though. I see
That does make it awkward.
One water in the attached to the Gudra, one water on the Lost Zone. It might not be enough in the deck.
Does play 4, so in theory, oh no, both of them are in the hand. No, Austin needed to not drop both of them.
Awkward for sure. We might just have this Rolling Iron here onto the Stoutland. Not the most optimal play, but we'll still net you 2 prizes.
Yep, still a 2-prize turn. It does take away the potential for the 3-prize turn down the line. It isn't the most efficient use of your damage as it could be. Now, with this Gudra coming to the active, Temple of Sinnoh ready to replace the bumped one in the hand. We know one more energy card is available as well. Boss's Orders ready for potentially the next turn. And of course, that Moisture Star V-Star power has not been utilized, so that will be able to be used later on in this one.
All right, looks like, again, still needing one more energy there to attack with the Hisuian Gudra. But do we see a declaration of an attack here without the attachment?
Oh, is that what happened? Did Austin say attack without attaching the energy?
Oh, no.
Oh, that is, oh gosh, that's absolutely brutal. And now this is a huge opening. Also did not even play the Temple of Sinnoh that was in his hand. Just got maybe one step ahead of what he needed to do.
Unfortunately there, but again, it's been a long day. This is the final round of Swiss. These players have played multiple days of very, very intensive Pokemon, and sometimes you just see the line, you go for it, you get your mind, your mouth is a little bit faster than your hands for sure. And unfortunately there, because we missed the attack, that means Rolling Iron. Not only do you not take 2 prizes, right now the Gudra V-Star in the active only has 270 effective HP, whereas if you use Rolling Iron, you'll be seeing at 350. There's so many ways to take this knockout here. We did lose a couple of powerful energies, and there's no space on the bench to bench something like the Amazing Rare Eviltal. Yeah, there's 1 powerful on the Stoutland, there's 2 in the deck, 1 in the discard pile. So even with 2, you're only doing 260 damage there with the Lugia.
Would need to be the Choice Belt
to
boost this damage a little bit more. And I think the only way to get the Choice Belt without just actually drawing into it manually would be that Irida. And I believe Jake did discard the Irida on the last turn, maybe wishing that he had held on to it for a situation just like this. I don't know that you can really expect Austin to have just accidentally forgotten to attach the energy card, but yeah, Jake looking for a chance to cash in here. Does he even have a supporter card at all is the question.
At the same time, just doing damage into this Gudra, forcing the Moisture Star ability this early for free, not the end of the world.
Free damage? Okay, we take it.
I believe that might have been the case here. It's going to be a Wild Tackle for 220, I believe, 220 damage because of that powerful energy as we move back here to Austin. Again, Gudra versus the world.
Yep, attaching an energy now, wishing maybe that had happened last turn. Austin kind of recognizing the situation here. He is holding on to Boss's Orders, and this can be really strong because you can Boss's Orders, take out an Archeops. Is actually going after the Lugia, just wants to do a bit of damage onto this Pokemon. It actually does make some sense because the reason to boss Archeops would be to eliminate the threat of a Eviltal being powered up in one single turn, right? But by bossing this Lugia, Jake still has a full bench. There's no way for Eviltal to come into play right now, and I actually think Austin does have 2 Boss's Orders in the hand.
Exactly. I like that play, definitely. I mean, there's no threat right now of the Eviltal, like you said, and getting 200 damage here and saving the Stoutland for later because we know we're lacking in attackers, right? We're very, very much behind here. This Gudra has to take out something like the Lugia V-Star, and then Greninja takes out the Pumpkaboo and the Stoutland, and then I just have to find one more way to get 1 prize. Maybe even just attacking with the Gudra V, non-evolved Gudra V, is a possibility.
If you've got to do it, you've got to do it, and that might be the situation Austin finds himself in. Did choose not to put the Temple of Sinnoh in play, and we talked in the pregame about how important it was to put Temple in play at the right time. What makes right now not the right time?
Because there's no threat right now of the knockout besides something like a Choice Belt, which Jake did not have at all the previous turn. So yeah, right now, Gudra should be able to take a hit. So you know what? Let's save it for later.
It will still be a pretty strong hit. Oh, did Jake now just announce attack? Jake doesn't have enough energy.
Oh,
Jake just did the same thing with both of these players. Oh my goodness, Wancho on the winning end. I cannot believe what I'm watching right now.
Sometimes you just have to, we're thinking of so many advanced plays at times, but there are times you just have to go back to the basics. You draw a card, one supporter per turn, don't forget to attach your one energy.
I cannot believe that, and this actually puts Austin Charles in a pretty strong position with the damage on the Stoutland. You can set up for that Greninja play in the future turn. That's a 3-prize turn, so if you set up for Gudra to knock out this active Lugia, put that Temple in play, hope that your opponent does not have the pieces to bump it, plus attack with Radiant Eviltal, or Amazing Mirror Eviltal, I should say, you can set up to use the Greninja later on, take the 2 prize on the Lugia here, and then you just have to find one more prize with something like the Hisuian Gudra V.
This is big indeed, but again, something we have to remember. There's already 2 energies attached to that Gudra, one on the Lost Zone. Is it possible? Is it even possible to attack with this Greninja?
Yeah, it may not be.
I think it had to be a metal energy on the Gudra there instead of the earlier attachment of the water.
Yeah, that might be the situation here. There is 1 copy of Raihan in the list for Austin Charles, so that is one way to get an energy back. I don't see one in that Raihan, I should say, in the hand just yet, but it is certainly something Austin is going to be looking for. Austin making sure he's got enough energy cards, but yes, will finally take a knockout and take 2 prizes. Jake Jensen now drawing for turn, Temple of Sinnoh in play, making things pretty difficult for something like Amazing Rare Eviltal to come out and take a relatively easy 2 prizes.
Exactly. If there was a right time to play Temple of Sinnoh, it is this exact moment. Again, Lugia's attack has the ability to remove stadiums itself, and with that out of the way, the only way for Jake to get the Temple out, especially since the Pumpkaboo is already down on the board, is Lost Vacuum, which is also a one-of, which you can only find with something like Irida. That Irida is really important.
Yep. It really does help you just find so many potential pieces. Now, with this Evolution Instance just fetching out another Archeops, just taking an opportunity to thin, does Jake Jensen have a supporter card in the hand? We have not seen a supporter from him for multiple turns, and this Stoutland just, I mean, it's a glutton for punishment here, just taking the damage turn after turn from this Wild Tackle. Not dealing too much to this Gudra, 120 offered up. And I think Jake here maybe sees that this situation got out of control, and I think it looks like Austin Charles is going to win this game.
I just have to say, Chip, that is probably one of the most memorable win-ins I've ever seen.
Wow.
I don't think I would have predicted. This is not in my Pokemon bingo book right here.
Yeah, Austin, breathing a sigh of relief, to be honest, recognizing that he got away with one right there. He made a mistake, and he knows it. Knows that he missed out on this energy attachment, gave his opponent a free turn effectively, but then his opponent did the same thing just a couple turns later, and Austin was able to just get back in it, get back ahead. Something else interesting as well, we haven't really talked about just this matchup in general yet. I mean, I think the general consensus from most of the community, and even Austin, when I spoke to him, said he wasn't super pumped about playing versus Lugia. It does feel like this is a matchup that should go Lugia's way, maybe 55 to 60% of the time. What do you think?
Exactly. I think that is the right number. I mean, playing Gudra V-Star, it does feel that way, but it's not impossible to win, right?
No.
That 5%, yes, that could be something, but it's not an unwinnable situation, especially when you're prepared for it with the Temple of Sinnohs. I mean, you wouldn't be bringing a deck to a regional that has potentially a bad Lugia matchup, since we've seen it time and time again. 30% of 1,000 people are playing Lugia. That means there's like 300 people.
Yeah,
300 people you have to dodge.
Yeah, not great odds, if you ask me. And it gets even worse when you make it to day 2, because then we go up to almost 40% sometimes. So, yeah, it's a lot of people to try and dodge.
Exactly.
These players shuffling up here for game number 2, both offering up a mulligan initially.
Okay. Again, so far the game has been very fair. Mulligan, and then missing an energy, missing an energy.
Yeah.
So very balanced. If you think about it, that game might have just played out exactly how it turned out in any case, right? With both players missing out on energy, essentially being back a turn apiece. Still might have just been Lugia's game Gudra's game in any case. Looking at the prizing now, couple of Chorus's Experiment. That's tough.
That is tough, and a powerful energy as well for Jake Jensen. Those damage modifiers can be super relevant. That one of Choice Belt as well, something that could have come up big for Austin in game number 1. That is also something hiding in the prizes.
The Raikou as well is something I love to play against Gudra at times because they don't play something like a Mana Feed.
Right.
So that's another way to take multiple prizes besides Stoutland. So you can maybe use Stoutland, take 2 prizes, use Raikou to take another 2, and then from there you just have to find your way to take another 2 prizes there. And yeah, I mean, that's 1 Gudra V-Star. At least you only have to deal with 1.
A decent start here for Jake Jensen. Does use Quick Ball to discard an Archeops, putting that into the discard pile right away, and also pretty decent starting the Stoutland so that it can start to double dip Fangs as early as turn 2. Can be a little annoying because it does offer it up as a way for Austin to just get a little bit of free damage in with something like a Cramorant. We now see that canceling Cologne, a tech card really meant for the Arceus Duraludon, the Aerodactyl, the Weezing matchup. Jake is able to just play it, burn it out of the hand. It does turn off that flower selecting ability, but only on Jake's turn. So not going to affect Austin at all. Yes, yes.
Just want to talk about really quick. Jake actually doesn't have the best hand.
Oh,
you see a Lugia V-Star. I think their only supporter for next turn is going to be Boss's Orders, Radiant Charizard. Again, they don't have ways to get. They can potentially get 1 Arceus in play, but that's kind of risky.
Judge is just making sure everything is good to go here. It is a little bit of a confusing ruling with the canceling Cologne, but it does only work on your turn. So you might say, why does that ever matter? I mean, there could always be cards that do more damage based on how many abilities your opponent has in play. So canceling Cologne would now mean that the active Pokemon no longer has an ability. So a little bit of a weird thing. Jake was just burning it out of the hand there because it's not a useful card, doesn't want it in the deck.
Yeah, there's so many interesting interactions with Canceling Clone. Sometimes you can even gust a Mana Feed, turn off the ability that protects the bench, and start sniping. But right now, again, we're going to go back to Austin here. Did flower selecting. Opts to send the switch instead of the Hisuian Gudra this time. Don't see a way to get a base. Oh no, there's a capture energy, so they should at least get that. But would love to see something like a Cramorant again, just do damage into this Stoutland.
Starting with a switch now. Could play a Colress this turn. We have not seen one just yet. Austin kind of just having to sigh at the fact that he's hit 2 energy cards here. All right, metal going down. Makes sense to keep the water. It might seem inconsequential, but if you ever do want to attack with Greninja, it's better to have more water energy around.
Exactly.
Has not had an opportunity to search the deck yet, so does not know exactly what he does or does not have available. And I'm interested here off of this capture energy. It is going on to the bench. Do we see Austin grab the Gudra, just get that consistent, make sure you can set up for a turn 2 attack, or do we see something like that Radiant Greninja to try to draw a couple more cards?
I think it has to be the Radiant Greninja here. Looking at the Austin's hand, it's not the greatest either, and by getting the Greninja, it opens the opportunity to maybe grab something like a Colress, versus if you get something like your Gudra, you might just be hoping for a top deck. But I could be wrong there, and maybe they're comfortable with their hand and just getting a couple of energies on Gudra eventually, and being able to evolve this Gudra in the next coming turns might be just that important.
Yeah, and with 2 Colress experiments prized as well, it makes it even less likely you would hit one off of that Radiant Greninja.
Exactly.
Couldn't even go for something like a Cramorant here, as there's only 3 cards in the Lost Zone, so it will just be a pass now. Back over to Jake Jensen with that Stoutland active, really chomping at the bit, trying to get at this Comfey, I would imagine. And was that a Lumineon top deck?
Yes, great top deck there. Again, Luminous Sign, able to find any supporter they want. Let's see what they opt to grab. Has to be maybe something like a Research.
Looks like it is Burnett. Does that mean, does Jake Jensen have an out to Lugia V-Star in the hand?
He just has it. He has a Lugia V-Star in his hand.
Wow.
So again, one of the cases where, I don't need any other professor than Burnett. This is all I'm looking for. Archeopsis in the discard pile. He even has Boss in hand for the next turn.
And there's no good response for Austin Charles to this play. That Choice Belt is in the prize cards. There is no way to super efficiently get this Gudra powered up. This game could be over quick, Wancho.
Exactly. Again, Stoutland might just be the only attacker Jake needs. It can take 2 prizes off the Comfey, take 2 from another Comfey, and potentially even just next turn just gust up the Gudra V-Star, potentially, and even wild tackle that.
Yeah, with a 3 powerful energy being offered so far, just 1 away. We know 1 is in the prize cards, and if I'm remembering right, Wancho, it was in the bottom 2 prizes. So, yeah, wild tackle for 280 could definitely get in there next turn. Here we go, double dip fangs, 2 prizes here for Jake Jensen, grabbing that other powerful energy, leaving him with plenty of options. Next turn, Austin Charles draws for turn. It is an ordinary rod, not something that's going to be super helpful.
Not as explosive there, but he still has flower selecting to fall back on.
2 cards off the top. There's a water energy and a switch. That is not it. That is not helpful. I think Austin's hand is pretty much unusable at this point. There is not really a play available.
Exactly. I think Jake's top deck was just a little bit more powerful than Austin's. And then, just having the Stoutland already in the active, it was just perfect there. And we're going to game 3.
Austin recognizes the situation, cannot win from this position. Stoutland being a little bit too intimidating. And we're going into this 3rd game on the winning end. Round 15, it comes down to this for both of these players' journey. If they get a win, they move on to top 8. They still have a chance to become our Fort Wayne regional champion. If they lose, they'll have to be content with a top 16 finish.
Which isn't too bad. Again, top 16 is not too bad, but this is such an important game. And again, just want to remind both players, attach your energies.
Luckily, we didn't see too much of that happen in this game, but yeah, we will see what happens indeed. We can update a couple things from the field as we are moving into this game number 3. Noah Sawyer and Raymond Long did take the intentional draw at table number 1. Noah Sawyer locked up for top 8, and it actually looks like Reagan Retzloff and Justin Stites did choose to eventually intentionally draw. Looks like there was not a game played there, and that puts Justin Stites at 36 match points, Reagan Retzloff at 35. Must feel like his resistance is going to be good enough. How about Reagan as well? 2nd place at OCIC. Has had a little bit of a bumpy ride ever since that tournament, these last few regionals, the Vancouver, Charlotte. He's done okay, not amazing, but how about this, putting himself back in a position to make top 8?
Not too bad for sure. I'm sure he's glad to get off that. That's a little bit of an unfortunate streak. Maybe this is the tournament that changes his luck as we begin now. A couple of interesting prizes there. Professor Burnett.
Oh, that's been a key card every single game so far for Jake Jensen. That is in the prize, and a few other one-ofs as well. Jake prized that Radiant Charizard, prized that Amazing Rare Raikou, and over on Austin Charles' side, prized that Raihan, which is something we haven't seen it yet, but it really can come up and is such a good way to get an extra energy card into play.
Exactly. And especially against something like Lugia, which is bound to take prizes very, very early, very, very quick. It might not be a bad idea. Would love to have it in the deck for sure, but it's, at times, your first couple of turns, the supporter you really do want is going to be Color's Experiment. We do see Austin there opening up the Battle VIP pass. So right now he's having a good time. He already has the Radiant Greninja already in play. So right now I just have to guess it has to be something like a Comfey and the Hisuian Gudra that we're about to see hit the field.
And I think Austin in this position is crossing his fingers that Jake does not open up the game with a Marnie. I think Austin has a couple of Colress Experiment in his hand. So if those got sent to the bottom with a Marnie, that would not be ideal.
We'll have to see again. First turn Marnie is not uncommon for Lugia, especially when your opening hand sometimes is just a bunch of special energies. But we've seen Jake just, his go-to is turn 1 Burnett, but he doesn't have access to that. No. So it's a possibility.
Another flower selecting finds another Colress Experiment, just sending that heavy ball away. Nothing in the prizes there for it to fetch out, so might as well. It's honestly almost as good of a lost zone target as Battle VIP Pass in a situation like this.
Exactly. We're going to see the captured energy being attached now to the Comfey. What else do we need to find in this scenario? Do we go for a second Hisuian Gudra?
Yeah, could be that second Gudra. We saw in game 1 in this position in a similar spot, Austin chose to go for the Cramorant. A third Comfey could be decent as well. Really tons of options available. Looks like for now will be that third Comfey, wanting to chain together more and more flower selectings, get more and more cards in the Lost Zone. And if Austin can set up for a turn 2 Mirage Gate play, so close to it in game number 1, could not quite pull it off. That would just put him in such an excellent position. Retreat now into Comfey number 3, I believe, of the turn. Flower selecting being utilized here very shortly. Has not used concealed cards yet, we should mention as well. That's always been a hot button topic in the community. Which one is better? Double VIP pass here on turn 1. Not too much of a decision to be made here.
Exactly, and I'm sure he's glad to see both. Again, get them out early. You want to see them out of the deck as soon as turn 1, and we do get the the second Hisuian Gudra. So this could be interesting, though. Now that you've filled up your bench, you're gonna need something like a scoop up net potentially to if you want to attack with Cramorant later in the in the second turn of the game. But with 3 cards in the lost zone, maybe Austin here's feeling confident that he should be able to attack with Rolling Iron in the next turn. As we move over to Jake, he does have the capture energy, should be able to get either a second Lugia V or maybe find that Stoutland that's been putting so much work.
Yeah, Stoutland has been a solid option in all 3 games, to be honest. Just came up a little bit short with it in game number 1. We've always seen that trusty Oranguru come down for these Lugia players at times like this as well. Did you get a peek at Jake's hand? What kind of plays does he have available? Do we have any ways to get rid of some Archeops?
He does have a couple. He has Quick Ball, Ultra Ball. He has a Luminia. He has Marnie, just like we talk about. Yeah, he has a lot of options for sure. He doesn't have the perfect Ultra Ball Archeops hand, but you know what? Just to talk about it real quick, he only does play 3 Archeops. Maybe that's why we're leaning towards having Burnett 3.
Yes.
It does,
That's kind of the cut that makes sense, right? If you want to play the Burnett, usually the 4th Archeops is the cut because you have a little bit more consistent of a way to discard those 2 Pokemon.
Exactly. As we do find ourselves an Ultra Ball here, let's see what they decide. Finding the Archeops. So we're going to at least get 1 in the discard pile naturally. Well,
and
without
then
Burnett.
off of a Marnie here, if they find, if Jake's able to get another Archeops, we could see that Read the Wind, discarding it. So still getting 2 down right away. And actually, Manaphy potentially being grabbed, maybe thinning it to the bottom or playing around a potential Moonlight Shuriken of the Radiant Greninja, but no, actually thinks better of it and goes for that trusty Oranguru.
Yeah, all right. But again, Jake not respecting the potential of a choice belt on the Hisuian Gudra. That's something interesting. He has never seen that choice belt.
That's right.
And despite this being game 3, this is the most opportune moment, especially with the Lugia V, the lone Lugia V in the active.
And speaking of choice belts, I see that in Austin Charles' hand off of that Marnie already ready to go for the next turn. Let's see what Jake has to work with off of the 5-card draw. That 5th card was an Evolution Incense. So we could see that Read the Wind coming in. Could take an opportunity to Primate Wisdom before playing this Incense, see what they get, put back an Energy card, but instead playing it first now. Grabbing, I assume, an Archeops, and here we go with the Read the Wind.
All right. Again, very, very important turn coming up for Austin. He does, there are 2 Chorus Experiment in the bottom of the deck at the moment. He does have a Pokegear 3.0, so he can dig a little bit deeper. If he can just find a Chorus, that could pretty much almost guarantee that he gets the attack off here. Oh, well, if he finds the Mirage Gate.
Yeah, no way to shuffle the deck here. So Austin might play this Comfey first, maybe look for an opportunity to try to shuffle the deck. Oh, does find the Chorus? Are you kidding me, Wancho?
It does find the Chorus, has to send the Mirage Gate. That's one of the pieces he needed.
Yeah.
But you know what? You get to dig a little bit deeper there.
I bet Austin is wishing he played Pokegear before going for the Flower, selecting 4 cards now in the Lost Zone. Chorus Experiment, seeing the top 5. There's a switch card, another Energy. Pokegear, not super useful. Another Energy and an Escape Rope. We could see a lot of movement here this turn with all of these switches.
Yes, but again, Escape Rope, you want the Lugia V in the active. This is another game-winning potential turn. There's still concealed cards that could still be used. There's still a lot of ways to draw. So let's see if Austin can find the right combination of cards here.
Yeah, needs another switch card that's not Escape Rope ideally, so another Scoop Up Net or another switch, because he has to go into 1 more Comfey, use 1 more Flower Selecting to get to 7 cards in the first place. Let's see where he works in that Radiant Greninja. Looks like it will be now 2 cards off the top. Ooh. There's Mirage Gate and a Capture Energy, still needing 1 more switch card, though.
Exactly. So he has 1 more Flower Selecting. He can use the switch, go into a Flower Selecting, and that specific one has to find a switch. That's all he's missing here.
Checking to make sure that there is indeed just 6. Cannot play the Mirage Gate. This would be a time that would be normally nice to thin a couple energies out. This is a big Flower Selecting Wancho. If Austin Charles finds a Scoop Up Net or a switch, it's a switch is the hit, but with another energy. Does that mess him up here? He did prize a basic Water Energy. How many energy cards are down? How many are in the discard pile? How many are in the Lost Zone? Can he get there? We know that the V-Star is already in hand. Does Austin Charles have the play lined up?
Does he have? He doesn't have ordinary rod in here. There it is.
I think
Mirage Gate.
he
This
must
is it.
have it.
There's the
yes.
water.
There's the water and a metal
the metal.
energy. 2 energy coming down to this Hisuian Gudra. A couple of energy card choices in the hand and that choice belt. This is such a strong play and possibly a game-winning play for Austin Charles. Found the one of choice belt in the deck.
Yes, what a time to finally reveal that choice belt. But again, still just 2 energy on.
Let's make sure we remember to evolve. Yeah, don't want to miss any energy attachments. Slam down that belt, and Jake Jensen has to sit back in his chair just like he was just taken aback, could not process this moment and understands the situation now. He is 2 turns behind effectively. Looks like we're having a bit of a discussion with our judge at the table potentially. Try to get word of what happened. I don't think anything happened weird on Austin's turn here, I don't think, but...
Yeah, everything looked clean to me. But again, this is it. This is such a big moment for Austin Charles. And if I was Jake Jensen, I must be just thinking to myself, I had so many opportunities here to use Quick Ball to get a second Lugia V. But instead, I opted to just find myself an Oranguru. Again, great card, but not the one I need at the moment, as we do see the rolling iron there for the knockout on the lone Lugia. And just like that, Jake is set back a couple of turns.
Yeah, this is tough. Jake, I think, had a handful of energy, just has to extend the hand, shake Austin Charles' hand, and send him into top 8 of the Fort Wayne Regional Championships.
Not too bad there. Congratulations to Austin, but again, congratulations as well to Jake for making it this far. If I was Austin, I'd be feeling over the moon right now. Despite how game 1 went very rockily, I was able to take it back. And again, that surprise choice belt out of nowhere, saving it till game 3. It really did pay off.
What a sequence of events. Austin Charles, he played well there in game 3, but we got to recognize what happened there. Got a little lucky, I think. Found the one of choice belt. Found the one Colress that was not on the bottom of the deck or in the prizes to just absolutely pop off and get into top 8 here in Fort Wayne. What a game, what a set, and we've got Gudra here making it into top cut. Is this Gudra's event, Juancho?
Sometimes, Chip, sometimes it's just in the stars, and sometimes that star is a moisture star.
I like what you did there. Wow, what a game, what a finish. Congratulations as well, of course, to Jake Jensen. Should be locking up a top 16 spot. There's a chance he finishes in the top 32. Either way, an incredible accomplishment. We have as many players as we do at these regional championships. Just even getting to day 2 is something players should hold their heads high about.
Just getting into the double digits, placing in double digits is so big for me. Because, again, 1,000 players. Can you imagine? You are top 32 out of 1,000 people. That's something to hold your head up high and be extremely proud of, for sure.
Without a doubt. And hey, we talked about the matchup just a little bit. It does seem like it's a little Lugia favored. Do you think you change your opinion on that, or do you think maybe we just saw some things not quite go Jake's way?
Again, Jake did get a little lucky. The one of choice belt definitely helped out, and especially the one of choice belt in Austin's list, but then Jake, again, had to play a certain way, right? If he benched the second Lugia V, this is a completely different story. And now that, Austin's been on the stream, people might know there is that choice belt. You do have to respect it.
Yeah, it's something that I think players should definitely keep in mind. It's something that's been kind of common in the Gudra decks as of late. I think a lot of players have been playing it. We can update a few more people on some of the matches out in the field that are currently happening. It looks like Xander Bennett that we featured in round 14, he was able to get the win over Zach Laska at table number 6. So Xander, being at 36 match points, will be in our top 8 with his Mew VMAX deck.
Ooh, Mew VMAX, something I love to see as well. I'd love to see actually Mew VMAX against the Hisuian Gudra. That's a matchup I think that is also fairly even, depending on setup for sure.
And then our other player from that round 14 stream match, Billy Chan, did take the loss